G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute. Today I'm joined by my partner in crime, Algared. How you doing, mate?
Fairly well. I think I have recovered from the IE. I know you're still looking a bit worn.
Yes, I'm still recovering. Yeah, it always takes me a week or two to get back on my feet after it. It's pretty draining.
Yeah.
So I ran into MagWolf about the day after the sale, and he's like, "Oh, I'd love to help you guys out with some giveaways or whatever like that." And I was like, "Yeah, cool. We'll work something out." And then I went, "Give us your fleet before you head off." And then we went down this rabbit hole for 4 or 5 hours, where I found out that he'd not done so well. So how would you explain it, Mags, with your Spartan trickery? So yeah, just explain what you think that would, and say hello. Obviously, I should have led with that.
Yeah, no, you good. Yeah, so I had basically had some credit that I had built up after melting some stuff that I didn't want to keep that I had gotten early on in the sale. And since it was the final day, I wanted to lock it in. And I ended up just going with Spartans and then using the credit I had to upgrade straight to what I wanted. And that obviously locked me out of significant amount of savings if I would have just put in a little bit more. So
So basically, he had $15 off each one of these ships here. The exception being the C2, where he'd brought some actual Warb 1 upgrades and had about $130 worth of savings. So we essentially just took that one and upgraded it up. And all the others, we only melted 3 ships to get to what we finally got to. He did have to add some extra cash in, but basically he went from these 8 ships to 13 ships in the end. And it was basically he'd already spent the money, so it was more about taking what he'd had spent and maximizing that efficiency. Now, Agrid wasn't there for a lot of it because he was at work and it was the last day of the sale. So Tecton actually stepped up to the plate and helped me because I was pretty much Neanderthalic at that point, and really helped me out there. But Agrid well, you tell him, Agrid, you looked over it and asked all your questions,
I
and yeah.
Look, I looked over the fleet. I talked to Mags, and and I did have a few reservations. But as I started hearing, I'm going no, no. And although this fleet does grow to 13, Mags was saying basically I've got all the ships I was after, and the only reason I didn't have them is because I thought it was going to cost me a lot more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So before we
yeah,
jump onto the final one, we'll get Mags to do what we usually do and just tell us his feelings on the ships and what he thinks of them, and why he got them. So yeah,
what
start
was your
off.
thought process?
Yeah, go for it. Banner Man, please, Mags.
yeah, so the Bandit Merchantman is probably my favorite ship out of the bunch. It'll definitely be the one that I find myself in the most, just because in a lot of games I like the economic aspect, and this provides trading, cargo, and it has, it's not weak. It's got good guns,
Yeah.
and yeah, it just checks all the boxes for something I'd want to fly around very, very frequently. And I think I'll find myself in this a lot.
Yeah. Look, after the ISC today, I could fully understand being, wanting to stay in the BMM. The
Mm.
leaks they had in that showing what the BMM was looking like so far were really nice.
Mm.
It was it got me excited for the BMM.
Most definitely. Your thoughts on the MSR, please, Mag.
Yeah, so the MSR is kind of the smaller version of the BMM for what I want to use it for. It's going places that I'm either not supposed to be or that I might find a little bit of danger, and getting in there quickly, quietly, and hopefully getting out unscathed.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it fills that same role of getting cargo and, in this case, data where it needs to go.
And you told me at the time that this was your daily driver as well, so this is your main ship in that regard.
Yep, that's what gets me around the verse currently.
Cool. Alrighty then. Moving right along. The Crucible, and this might be a good chance for you to tell us about your org as well. So tell us the type of org you're in and the role that you're playing in that.
Yeah, so I'm in a PMC org, a private military corporation, and what that entails is basically the idea is we have clients that come to us that ask us for a service that is more than likely going to be combat or a security focus, and having the ability to have a variety of ships to support that was important to me. In any case, in any role. Um,
Mm.
the Crucible in particular is necessary for capital ships, so anybody that ends up having a capital ship is going to benefit greatly from this. And yeah, it's very flexible, and it's going to be a big part of what I want to do in the org.
Yep. It's a. I don't need to say it. It's a great ship. It's cult of a crucible. What more is to say?
The C2. So this is the initial one that was on the chopping block when we started looking, and then ironically it was the one that had the most savings, so we ended up kind of keeping it. And as I said, we didn't have to melt every ship because there was some kind of diminishing returns, but I think this one ends up being the Banner Merchantman again, once a lot of the bigger ones were melted. So what was the draw to this ship, and do you now see that we've turned into a Banner Merchantman, why we did that?
Yeah, so originally this was like the extra ship that I added on at the end, that I ended up putting more money in for. So I kind of wanted something that wasn't going to be too expensive, but also kind of fit a role in between the MSR and the Banner Merchantman. And this also had the added draw of being able to carry vehicles, and having a lot more SCU than something like the M2.
Yep.
That's kind of my reasoning. It was more of a cost thing. I couldn't take it up to much higher at the time that at least I thought I couldn't. And well, we'll see where that ends up.
The Odyssey, were you drawn in by the hype, or what's the reasoning behind this one?
So I had always been whelmed by the Carrack. I thought it was good, but I wanted something that I could take out somewhere, be away from everything for as long as possible. And the one thing on the Carrack that I was concerned about was not having fuel to do that. And the ability on this ship to get its own fuel was like the keystone for what I wanted to do. So that's the main reason why I picked this over the Carrack in this fleet.
The Reclaimer.
So this is
my favorite ship. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, no, this is definitely up there. I like the idea of the ship. It looks really cool. The salvage gameplay is something that I've been looking forward to for a while, and I can't wait for it to come into the game and to be able to actually use this at some point to, chew up wrecks and hopefully make a bit of credits on the side with it. So
yeah, me and Algared were.
It also ties in with that exploration gameplay as well, because CIG have hinted you will need to go and explore the wrecks you come across and remove components and fuel and unexploded ammunition, because if you start munching it up, your ship might go boom. So you've got that exploration aspect as well.
All right, the Excellent Endeavor. What's your thoughts on this one, please, Mag?
Yeah, so this one I initially hadn't really considered as a primary ship, and then my friend actually was interested. He's mostly a medical guy in the game, or wants to be. So I kind of pointed him to this as the top tier for that. And I was thinking about it more, and I was like, well, this could be really good to have just because of how flexible it is. So I ended up wanting to get one myself, and my goal is to use it primarily as a science vessel in this case.
Yep.
All very valid. And finally, the almighty Orion.
Behemoth.
Yeah, so this is definitely something that I kind of pulled the influence of what I've done in Eve previously. I used to spend a lot of time just munching rocks in Eve, talking to friends, and having something low pressure to do on the side I found is really nice. You can be very social, whereas if you're in the middle of combat, it's kind of all hands on deck, very serious. So having an opportunity to do something that's going to make you credits and be a little bit less pressure is going to be nice to have.
Now, do you remember back when we were doing this, and I kind of forgot, but do you remember I got you to write down the ships that you would want? You remember what they were when we were written down? I remember 3 of them, but I'm forgetting the 4th. And I'm trying to remember the order. And I know it was like Polaris, Liberator, something, then Carrack was the last one. And I'm trying to remember the 3rd, but I can't remember.
Yeah, so the Nautilus was in there too.
The Nautilus. And that's it. It was Polaris, Nautilus, Liberator, Carrack. Is that the order that we wrote down? After we talked about it? Right. And so they're the ships that we headed for. And that's what we did. And the ships that we melted off were the Orion, the Benemenschman, and the Odyssey. And there were a few others possibly on the chopping block. But when we kind of looked at the diminishing returns, by the time this is on the Reclaim to give an example, by the time we spent $85, you had to take that off what you were going to get in savings. He was only saving $53. So it was more like 135, whatever the rough number is. But because you had to put in $85 cash, there was a diminishing return stuff there. So anyway, this is what we ended up with. And this ended up costing him an extra $670. So that's like the price of one of those ships. So like buying another Odyssey, but then in return of that Odyssey, you got those 4 ships that I listed, which was the Polaris, the Nautilus, the Liberator, and the Carrack, which I think is extremely good value.
It is. Well, when you consider that the cheapest of those, I think, is the Liberator at 500 and I think 500.
575, I think it is. Yeah.
You know, and then you got the Nautilus at around 600, the Carrack at around 600, and the Polaris at
725 for Nautilus.
725.
Yep. Carrack is 600, and the Polaris is 750.
Yeah. So when you look at that and you go 685 and you get all of those, you go, okay. And all of those have LTI, correct?
Yeah, everything has LTI. Most of them are what he originally did, just with so they're all kind of got Spartans. He'd already used his buyback token, that was what really sucked. We've got a ticket in for customer support for him to try and get 4 of them. He's got exactly the right amount of credit to unmelt 4 Spartans, considering that's in the purchase window of 30 days. We're hoping they just give those back to him. If not, the long-term plan is just every quarter buy back a Spartan, and that way he's going to break even. He had enough credit left over on top of the credit that if he spent another $50 in Warbond CCUs, he was able to pick up the Redeemer, which gave him a second smaller version of, he can fly it. And again, he's in a combat org. He'll get use out of that. And again, just like the Polaris and the Nautilus, that actually will defend those attack ships, it just gives him another craft. And also, if he hates it, he can upgrade into something else. But they were... I might be mistaken on the Redeemer. Was it we talked about the Redeemer and the Cat, wasn't it? Was the other one the Caterpillar? Was that the other one that we could possibly turn the Redeemer into? Down the line?
Yeah, that was the other one that we were talking about. Yeah, because I think it's only like $5 more.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and then we recommended you pick up a $5 CC for that. So he's got some flexibility there. These are all sitting there in CCU chains as well. So like today, they brought out... So this was recorded on the same day as the ISC came out. I think we're about 5 to 6 hours after that came out. And with that video today, one of the things that we've been looking at is the Odyssey is probably not as cool as we all thought it was. So if he, for example, decides that he doesn't want the Odyssey, because it's just sitting there in a chain now, he can melt the top upgrade or whatever and fork off to something else if that's what he desires. So we kind of went through that with him, didn't we, Algared, and said these are all the type of ones that we think may be coming. Yeah.
But when
go ahead.
When you consider those ships that Redeemer, down the bottom there, it's a great ship if you've got 2 or 3 mates, or actually 1 or 2 mates. 2 guys in those turrets, in the top turret and the bottom turret, is a lot of fun, and it just chews. It really is a good ship to
can
have.
Be very stressful with you and John though. Like it's hard to fly with you two. No. Giving me shit the whole way, but
your job is...
What, sorry? Oh, I think we've lost Algared. He's frozen. He'll probably catch back up in a minute. Nope, he's gone. Oh, well. I think I'll kind of wrap it up there anyway. We were getting caught.
Just keep us on target.
He's back. Say again.
I'm back.
You broke off. So say what you're going to say again,
I
please.
was saying that, in terms of the Redeemer, it's just a great ship to use with a couple of mates, and your job as pilot was just to keep the gunners on target.
Mm. Yeah.
And let them just do their magic with those big guns, and it just chews. It really is a great ship, a fun ship to fly.
Mm.
So,
So with the ships being in CCU chains, if he decides, like, as he had that list of priority of ships that he wanted, if he decides all of a sudden he doesn't want the Carrack anymore, doesn't want the Odyssey, he can just fork off where he wants because they're all in CCU chains. He can add in new savings. He can apply them if he wants the loaners. Like, the flexibility there, it's all in the palm of his hands now, where before he was locked in and he paid full price on everything.
Yep. And the only ship I think of those that isn't currently in CCUs is the BMM, isn't it? And that gives him back his C2 that he liked flying.
Yeah, so we took the C2 and chucked a couple of Warbond more Warbond CCs on top of it, and basically came back to the Banner Merchantman and yeah, as you said.
And the only other ship I would consider possibly applying the CCUs to is for the Orion, and that's only because the Orion gives you those two smaller mining vehicles that you can use now. But that comes with that cost of, if I hang on to it, I might be able to get more CCUs and make that even cheaper.
Yeah.
And that's a 6 of one, half a dozen of another. Do you want to have the mining ships now, or do you want to wait and see what you can get?
And I think Algared, probably a combo of both is a good thing. And I do think the Mole and the Prospector, you do get a lot of that. Well, like, let's be honest, the only real gameplay in the game besides what combat and basic cargo at the moment is mining. So I would agree with you on that. I don't know what to call that. It's not speculation, but on that theory, I don't even know what it is, but I agree with you. So,
on that approach, it's not really theory. It's just an alternate approach to the play now or wait and get a saving later.
So, MagWolf, did you hear back from your org, and did you get any feedback from that? And you personally as well, are you kind of really happy with how that's all turned out?
Yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. It filled out my fleet the way that I wanted it for a lot less than I thought it was going to take. And when I brought it to my org, I got the one response that I got that I'm probably going to remember the most is, how'd you get out of that with your hands?
So, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, so I'm glad your org's happy with it as well. I think, I don't know, I've shown it to a few people and they're kind of surprised by how little money, like, one ship's value was turned into 4 ships, but that kind of really does show you the power of it.
I also like the fact you were able to get a Starfarer in that mix as well.
I do want to add, I believe the Starfarer was in the original fleet and I forgot to add the ship. So that's my fault. So sorry for that one. That's on me.
All right, here I was thinking, wow, you even got an extra ship. Wow.
Yeah. So
but
I've frozen there for a second. It's all good. I'll be back.
That's okay.
All right. Well, with that one, if you like these type of videos, subscribe. If you want to go the extra mile on Patreon, please do that. Algared, is there anything you'd like to add?
Please leave a comment. Let us know what you think. We do read every comment. I'm sure Mags will read every comment as well. We don't always respond to them all, but we do actually read every single comment. Join us on Discord if you want to continue the conversation, or if you've got questions yourself. And if you want to have help with Fix My Fleet, go into our Fix My Fleet channel on our Discord at Execute, at Algared, and we will try and get to you as soon as we can. And on that note, with Frozen Execute.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I keep freezing today.
I've been Algared. He's been Execute. The voice in the void has been MagWolf. Say bye, Mag.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
And we're out of here. Take care.
Catch you in the next one.